My name is Morten. I'm here from Heimdal Security. We're talking about compliance, risk, and security for the NHS. So I think it's about time we do it a little bit easier for the NHS than it's been before. Sounds like everybody's having a bit of a hard time with this. So let's freshen up, do something different than we did yesterday.
Morten, you're building resilience for the NHS. It can't be any simpler than that.
Exactly. Let's see if we make it work. Well, we got some good case studies in here as well, so we'll crank on through. Is the audio fine at the back, by the way, as well? Great. It's the first time I'm presenting this deck, so you guys be a little gentle with me, please. That would be nice. Let's crack on, give you guys some value. As I said, my name is Morten, chairman and founder of Heimdal. If you want to hook me up on LinkedIn, just scan that QR code there. If you don't, also fine. Maybe you find me a bit too dreary, I'm not sure. But I'll pass on from this slide and then start talking about what we're hearing from you guys out in the NHSs. So let's talk about issues for NHS. Rising cyber threats. I think everybody can resonate with that in here. Is that true? More stuff to do, more complexity in the ecosystem, more tooling that you work with. I see some nodding. How many have issues with your tool stack today that's simply too much tooling in there to work with? Is that a common problem? Too much ground to cover. See a few nods in the back, so maybe everybody is having a good time and just relaxing out there. We also see a monitoring and detection gap. Again, simply because there's too much tooling, it's not all integrated. You can't cover it all in one pot. So these are common issues, and of course then you've got all this compliance work going on in the background. The CAF, we heard about it just before, Cyber Essentials, IASME, GCHQ, whatever. You guys got plenty of regulatory issues going on here. Again, it's all about making it easier for the NHS with Heimdal. Let's try and move on, see what that entails. So we'll talk a little bit about what in specific details are we getting from the NHSs that we serve today. We know you cover a lot of valuable data. We know you got operational continuity to protect. Can't have any downtime, that doesn't fly. If ambulances arrive with people who are injured and they can't be served, you've got a big problem. But that also means at the same time, typically security is not always the biggest focus. Is that true? So lots of nodding on that one, that's great. Is ransomware though still a threat in your organization? Is that something people are actually worried about? Will that get you sacked? I think people smiling means yes, that will get you sacked if you have a ransomware problem. But again, we get back to this issue. You simply have too much ground to cover. The attack verticals, there's too much to surface, too much surface to cover. So you simply have too much groundwork to do before you can actually do any real work in the organization. So if you look at the Heimdal way, as we call it, the Heimdal way is a very different approach to that. We cover a lot of ground in a single platform. You don't have to buy everything in Heimdal. You can just pick and choose what you want. We'll get back to that in a second as well. But it is the option to control everything in one place. We'll cover a couple of references, as I said before, later on in the deck. But what we do is, for example, vulnerability management. I've just heard about it before. Cyber Essentials compliance is something you guys need to have. So that's something we can help with. Risk management, rights management, and then also the risk management tied into that on the desktop. So with those users needing admin rights in the infrastructure, also something we can cover and help you with. That also helps you with all these IASME problems that I know you guys have. So that ticks that box. Then at the same time, we have a full thoroughbred AV with a USB management. I hear that's a hot topic in many NHSs, that the USB ports are left unprotected. Also something you can do. Still supports a central CSOC as well, if that's something that you're looking into. Then of course we have all the compliance, the governance, everything you need from the toolkit in there, and it's backed by a 24/7 SOC as well, if that's something you're looking for. All of this is flexible, but let's move on to a couple of reference cases. So this guy up here, the bald guy from Scandinavia, I'm from Denmark by the way, so he's just not tying you all out. Does he actually have something to back it up with? So we have this lovely reference from the Greater Manchester Hospital, who recently signed up with us. And clearly we think that's a pretty strong reference in its own. I don't need to read it out to you guys, hopefully. But we do think that speaks volumes in its own right. But we got more than just the one that we can hook up. Let's see if it's advancing the slide. So Mid Cheshire Hospital as well. I think in total we serve about 27 trusts. So maybe a lot of you in the room know Heimdal already. Some didn't. I noticed before. So also a couple of fresh people coming through, which is nice. But what this is all about is actually navigating what's on the next slide. It's navigating that landscape there. Even in the room up there, upstairs, I got a bit dizzy looking at all those vendors that you guys need to use and connect and get it all plugged together. I don't recall how many on this slide. I think about 340, something like that, vendors on this slide. And what Heimdal does is it connects all of that into one pot. So all of these vendors on that slide, we do ourselves. It's, by the way, our own IP. We are ISA 3000 SOC 2 certified as well. All the dreary stuff, I won't tire you with it. But that's all covered. So what we really want to talk about is how can you make your lives a lot easier. Bring all these key items into one pot, which are tools you use every day today. Vulnerability management, we know we saw Manage Engine upstairs as well. So probably some of you use Manage Engine, I'm sure. We saw CrowdStrike upstairs, so probably some of you use that. AV from Heimdal, AV from CrowdStrike. We do USB management still, just reiterating. And then all the rights management as well. These are the key things we hear from the NHSs out there that are relevant to you, because these are daily problems that you face every single day. But what ties into that? Oh, a very dreary topic. Compliance ties into that. Is that something everybody in here finds immensely exciting? Compliance. Something you look forward to every day, I'm sure. That's why you get up and go to work. Now, in the compliance bracket, you have these three. CAF is certainly a hot topic, I hear. I think all of you found a nice CAF folder on your chairs when you came back from lunch. It talks a little bit about how Heimdal covers all of those items in the CAF, or helps you cover them at least. Then, of course, we also help you cover Cyber Essentials and NIS2 as well. And then, of course, we help you tidy up all of these ransomware payment bans issues that you have, because we have a ransomware-specific product as well. So that's just stuff to consider about how we can help you make your lives easier. If you dive into details on that, Cyber Essentials is, of course, a key point. Now, I'm going to trick you a bit. How many in here need to be Cyber Essentials compliant? I think it would be more hands than that, to be honest. That was why it was a bit of a trick. Almost all of you, I'm quite sure, if not all of you, need to be Cyber Essentials compliant. But thank you for the engagement, by the way, for those who put the hand up. But we can do all of that as well. In Heimdal, you have firewall management, you have malware protection, patch management, everything you need for Cyber Essentials is covered. If we move on from that, you got the CAF. Now again, we just put in a couple of examples here how we can cover those items in the CAF as well. That's also in the platform. Again, you can customize it the way you want it. So all those benefits can be covered easily, and you can do it the way you want to do it, not the way we tell you to do it. And finally, you can do it all in a single pane of glass. So it brings all of that together for full local control, full local visibility as well. So it's not just a single NHS England that is looking down your throats. You can do it all yourselves as well. It's all in a single console. It actually looks like this, by the way. We have a nice video upstairs if you want to see it. But again, it brings all those vendors together. Manage Engine, CrowdStrike, whatever you're using. That's the principle of it. All the compliance reports are readily available when and if you need them. So you can tidy all that up and bring it together. And they actually look like this as well. So in Cyber Essentials, for example, you get tick boxes for each of the divisions and teams you have, and is there two-factor on, is password controls on, which leads me on to strategy. Because all of you need to take decisions and make things move to get stuff done. Does anybody know what an ICB is? Another trick question, I think. Not so smiling, a little bit more hand raising, that's good. So Heimdal works within the entities that you operate with daily. That means we can work with central funding, so you get economies of scale, solid buying power behind you. Agreements are made centrally and backed centrally, but then it's local autonomy. You guys decide which because we have a very wide stack, so we call them modules. You can choose which modules you want to go with and integrate into your ecosystem and use. That's all up to you. Nobody's dictating it, and again, you get the full visibility into the ecosystem as well. So you only choose what you need, you get all the buying power behind you, and at the same time it integrates with NHS England, everything that you need to stay compliant in your ecosystem. Now on that note, I'm almost approaching the end. I'm moving very quickly if you notice. So I'm in very good time. I hope it's been interesting, by the way. Is it okay? Not too dreary, I hope? I see lots of nodding on that one. That's great. So we have an exclusive offer to wrap it up with, and then we'll happily take a couple of questions. So for everybody in the room here, this is very technical, by the way, so I'll try to cook it down a bit and keep it very simple. So some of these standard issues that you're facing are here. Next-gen AV, you need USB management. That's one module, for example, that you could buy from us on the screen here of the 4. You need to do your patching. That's another module on here on the screen that you can buy from us. You only pay for what you buy, by the way, which is also a relevant point, of course. Then there's privileged access management, so rights management on desktop and all this IASB compliance as well. And then there's all the unified endpoint management in here. So of the 3 on the left, is it left for you? It's left for you as well. So on the 3 on the left side, if you choose any of those, in here, you get the UEM entirely free, so unified endpoint management entirely free from us as well. And that's already on a very strong pricing into the NHS, by the way. So exclusive offer. I would recommend that if you have any interest in this offer, my colleague Frederick, right over there, will be at the booth upstairs. Go chat him up. He's a very nice chap. Some of you have already met him. So then you can take advantage of this exclusive offer, and we also offer in our remote desktop tool 6 months for free as well into that offer. Now with that said, I'm going to wrap it up and just leave it at a few questions. Any questions that you guys want to raise? And feel free to roast me as much as you want. And you don't need to be British polite, by the way. Any questions at all? Ready for beers? Anybody? Okay, that's good. So you are awake. That's good.
I've got a question, Morten.
Sure.
So, would you, is it possible to highlight the savings and improvements if I didn't have the Heimdal integrated platform?
I think the best way to answer that question is with some real life examples. It's a great question, Bharat. I think pronounce it correctly, hopefully. So we just deployed with another trust 7,000 devices, and in less than 2 hours, I think it was, or within a couple of hours only, we had patched more than 11,000 patches into their ecosystem. Now, bear in mind, they were already patching because they had to. That's what they need to do to be compliant. So that's just the incremental difference of deploying a solution which has a 4-hour patching SLA. Again, you can configure that as well, so you don't need to patch in 4 hours, but we are able to patch in 4 hours. You can do it whenever you want to. So that's a very tangible difference to running a tight-lipped ecosystem, I would say, versus a more negligently managed ecosystem. Any other questions?
So on the patching there, are we saying that, say on a standard platform like Windows, something like that, if a patch is released, then how long would that take if I was using? Yeah.
That's another great question and a key point in this.
I've got lots of good questions.
Okay, that's great. So that's actually a key point in this example, because one thing all of you in this room are worried about is updating something and then it doesn't work afterwards. So I see lots of nodding on that one as well. So when Heimdal releases a patch, we have pre-tested it. It's already scanned with an AV. It loads into our ecosystem encrypted, and then we tunnel it encrypted down to your ecosystem. That means we only release patches which are pre-tested into your environment, which means we know they work when they arrive on your site. It's the only vendor in the world that does it like that. It's more costly for us because we need to source all the patches manually, whereas everybody else sources them from the third party directly. But that's why we know they work, including the Windows ones. They only become available for the Windows devices when they are ready for that device. to be deployed.
Do you have any, so one of a common problem I think we've all got is hard to reach devices, like laptops that are remote workers. Do you have anything that helps that, or does, in your scenario, it relies on the remote device to connect back into the trust organisation? Do you use CMG or something like that?
Fantastic question. So I'm just reading it back so everybody can hear it if you didn't have the mic at the beginning. So the question was, what happens if the device is not connected to the NHS ecosystem at the time it needs to patch? It doesn't matter because Heimdal brings them from our CDN to the device. So once the agent is installed, in this case an agent, then you don't need to be connected to actually receive the patch. You need to be online, of course, but you don't need to be VPN into the NHS ecosystem. All the policies that you've now set are controlled remotely via the Heimdal ecosystem. So at any point in time that device needs to update or is eligible for an update, that patch will be pushed from our CDN onto the device anywhere in the world. It even works in Sudan, by the way. So no worries, it works anywhere. I can literally guarantee that, except in North Korea.
This is a full range of software, not just the Microsoft.
Exactly. So there's like 350 third-party applications. 99.2% of any installed business software is covered on the third-party side, and any Microsoft software is covered.
And that's with a healthcare slant as well, is it?
Yes, exactly. And
So
if
we've
you
got a specific product that we subscribe to that patches.
I was just about to say.
packages,
So
bring it down.
So the gentleman is asking, what if kind of you have a custom NHS software that you need to have patched? Any customer, if it's patchable, any customer over 1,000 seats with us, which basically anybody in this room will be, can request to our support team to have a patch added, and we will add it free of charge, which is being recorded over here and here, by the way. So I know I can't snake my way out of it later. So that's free of charge. You just write to the support team and they will test it for you. Clearly there's some software we cannot support because it might be developed in-house or whatever. That might be impossible, but then we have a system for that as well, actually, so you can do it yourselves.
Thank you.
Kerry, I think there was a question there.
Okay, my question is more from the business side. Okay, from your experience dealing with customers, what has been the success ratio to meeting SLAs? Let's take, for instance, SLA of 7 days for I vulnerability. What's the success ratio across board, both third-party application, Windows?
Yeah, so you mean the way we solve it?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm looking at the success ratio because that's where the measurement metrics come from. How
Yeah.
effective, how successful?
Yeah. So we have the question is how effective are our SLAs, and we have a 4-hour SLA for when it becomes available. So the way we execute on that is we have a team that monitors all the vendor sites. They get a notification from our software, internal software, that a new patch is available. This team operates 24/7, 365, so whenever it becomes available, they take it down, clean out all the bloatware, scan it, run it through the process of controls, and then upload it into the ecosystem. And that's delivered with 99.9% efficiency. So, yeah, I'm not too worried about that. We delivered, I don't recall exactly, I think 270 million patches last year. So it's a very effective system. 16,000 customers, by the way, we serve globally, and pleasure to be here as well, by the way. Yeah, we'll take one more from the gentleman at the back. I got 2 more minutes remaining, so shoot.
Is there a risk in being a man in the middle of a patch from
This is a great question. So the question was, is there a risk for a man in the middle on a patch coming out? That's exactly why we scan them and check them. So some of you in here might remember this CC Cleaner patch back in, was it 2021, where the source was breached. I see lots of nodding on that one as well. None of the Heimdal customers were hit because they come from our side, not from the vendor side.
But my thinking is, you are the man in the middle. Should you be breached, then everyone potentially.
And that's a fair question. So I'm a very honest person. That is true. If Heimdal is breached, then of course we're in for a shitstorm. But that's why we have an ISAE 3000 SOC 2. And yes, theoretically, that's a SolarWinds 2.0 over again. But what you should be thinking about here is having one agent installed versus having Manage Engine, CrowdStrike, which you got a blue screen of death on last year, by the way, and other stuff. So you have 10 agents today maybe installed. One agent is a lot less risk than having 10 agents installed. There is no doubt about it. Cool. I think I'm up for time. Thank you for your engagement right here at the end, by the way. Thank you.